Okay, greetings internet. This is Ian. We're going to start a new series today um, called the Public Visual Library, where we're going to try and draw new things and hopefully improve our visual vocabulary um, by trying out new subjects to draw all the time. Well, not all the time, but as time goes on. So today we're going to start out drawing samurai armor. Um, I've chosen this subject because, well, there's a cool factor about it, but for future videos we're going to stay away from military sort of hardware just because there's an inherent cool factor about it. So we can focus more on the design, but just to get people interested in the visual library sort of thing, we're going to start out here. So this is a quick sketch that I made, well not quick, but something a bit more polished that I've done, and hopefully you'll be able to do something at around similar level. So let's get started at looking at some reference material and getting into a little bit of history of samurai armor and well, a little bit of the form analysis as well. So I prepared these very small collection of plates. They've just gotten off the internet, so I'm just gonna zoom in just so you can see where it's from. These are all under Creative Commons license, so I should be able to show them to you. So there's that one. There's this one. There's this one for the close-up details of the chest plate. And then there's this one. So yeah, let's get started. So before we begin, from a quick Google search, or more like Wikipedia read, we can see that well, there's two main types of samurai armor that have been around well, in history basically, and so we can classify them as old and modern type of styles of armor. So looking at the reference material, it's most likely that this one is considered old while all the other ones are new. I should have probably gotten a bit better reference, but it'll work out. The main way you can tell which one's modern is that if the chest plate is like a one metal big piece, it's probably modern, because they had to update the armor because well, muskets got introduced in Japan, and so the old type of armor just wasn't strong enough. So they had to update it. Yeah, and there's 8 real main pieces of armor that goes along with the samurai toolkit, which we'll have a look at this one and we'll go through all the pieces, which is really important to know, especially if you're drawing samurai armor, because if you're missing a piece, you're taking away from the silhouette of the overall big read of the samurai. So you got to choose carefully what you don't put in your piece if you're going that route and you're like, oh well, let's take out some design elements for the sake of making a pretty picture. But anyways, let's go into it. So there's the helmet, that's one, which we can combine with the neck guard, which is this thing over here. So there's also the face plate, that's number 2. So if you look in a lot of these, or maybe not a lot, but here it's a bit easier to see. There's a bit of a face guard. Note that I'm not using the actual correct terminology because I'm not Japanese and I don't want to mispronounce it. So there's the helmet, the face guard, there's the chest piece, that's 3. There's the shoulder pads, that's 4. And then there's the gauntlets, that's 5. And then there's these, what do you call them? Hanging plates that protects the thighs. So that's 6. And then you have these upper parts, which I don't think is shown here, but they protect the thighs as well. That's 7. And then you got the shin guards as 8. So the most important aspects in the silhouette that you're going to see are really this headpiece. The faceplate is not as important, but it's definitely iconic to the samurai sort of look. A lot of designs that I've seen online really don't go for this throat guard, but it's not as important, but still it's a nice piece to add in if you decide to put it in. But the next biggest piece are your shoulder plates and also the skirt or the hanging plates. So they're probably the 1, 2, 3 biggest points that you want to hit in your design. Chest is also will dictate whether it's the old style or the new style. So if your design needs a functional use, take note what material you decide to render your chest plate as. But yeah, let's start getting on to the form analysis and getting some drawing in. So if I check here. So let's start with the chest plate since that's probably the easiest. But if we look over here, I mean, it's a pretty cool chest plate. There's like a man on fire running. I don't know what it is, but it's a pretty cool design. It's probably some mythical connotations, but anyways, shape design. So because it's armor, sorry, there's going to be a pause here because I just had a bit of a coughing fit. Armor, it's going to follow a lot of the human form or anatomy. So knowing a lot of like humans and how they're a human form and how they're constructed, it's very important to drawing a full set of samurai armor, especially because it's outer form. You need to know what's on the inside, but hopefully we'll get through some basics, and so you can draw something which resembles. So let's start off with the chest. So it's probably best described as an egg that's cut off like a saddle. So if we kind of go into this example over here and we start drawing on top. Let's just get this here, show the website link. If we put in a little egg shape and then we cut off around the ends, and then we cut into the saddle part, we can get this basic idea of an egg that's being cut. So I'll show you right here. If we just start drawing from any sort of angle, right? You can, let's say we're looking at the top down onto it. We can draw an egg. We can cut off the tops, right? So you're thinking of this like a rib cage. Like if we change color, this is like the rib cage of the man sitting inside, you know, and the outer form is really following it. So then we cut out these armholes, right? And that is like pretty much what, you know, the chest plate is. So if we go off and like draw it in like, you know, we can sort of simplify it into something like this. That's one way of putting it. You know, and so at this point it's kind of, I mean, it's a pretty simple idea, but it kind of works. So if we decide, well, at this sort of point, knowing that it's a rib cage basically cut off at either end, it's all about detailing at that sort of point. So if you just put it front on, cut it here, put in a little bit of a curve, you know, maybe you put a little bevel on the edge, right? And maybe you, like in this reference, you know, you put in like a little character or a dragon, you know, maybe he's got like a, maybe it's like a little cat. You know, I mean, it's really crude, but what I'm drawing here, it's not really like this, but that's not really the point at the moment. We're just trying to get a sense of form. And so maybe it's got some sharp edges instead of these curved edges. So now we're designing, you know, and so on. You know, when maybe he's beveled here, and yeah, so it's kind of like, that's it really, the basics of the chest plate. Although you also have to remember that if you have it in this configuration, like this egg shape that's just got a cut with the over here, it's like not going to stay on the person if you just draw it like that. So you're going to actually need like some sort of shoulder straps wrapping around, so it actually sits on the samurai's shoulders. Otherwise it's just going to fall off. So be sure to include that detail or it won't really read. But yeah, that's so again, you can like start ornamenting the shoulder straps. You know, where's a reference with it? Pretty sure I had one. It doesn't, oh, here. So you can put in like little details like this and make it really pop. Just be sure to give everything that you draw some thickness, which is something that I've learned about clothes. You want to put thickness on things, otherwise it really doesn't become believable. That it, you know, it just becomes a bit paper thin. But for the sake of simplification, it's always good to break it down to a 2D plane in 3 dimensions first before adding thickness later on. So yeah, um, that's all I can think about the chest plate for the moment. But let's go on to our next iconic piece, which is the shoulder pads. So the best way to simplify it down is really just a plane, you know, or you know, one side of a box basically. I mean, if you really want to get technical, you can even start adding thickness, as I just talked about. But that's the most simple way you can draw one of these things. So you can just, so you know, what is it called? So drawing tutorials like Draw a Box, definitely very helpful when drawing from, you know, your imagination. You know, you can even put a little bit of gesture in there. You know, so say if we have a person like, I'm not really drawing this too well, but oh, let's okay, let's draw it a bit more representationally. You know, and his rib cage is sitting this way. Maybe this arm is like coming into the page like that, while this one's kind of coming back. Oh, that's not back. Let's make it going forward. So they're both going like really forward, right? So another example of doing it is like whoop, and then that's like one of the plates of this shoulder, and then, you know, it's coming in like this, his hands like there, it's pointing like, you, get over here, or something, I don't know, you know, so it's a basic sort of lay-in, yeah, so that's the most simple way of doing it. But when you look at, oh sorry, I keep pressing the wrong buttons, when you look at the reference, like, there's also like L shapes you can do. So it goes on top of the shoulders and then goes down. Here it's a bit wavy, like cloth. So knowing how to draw cloth is also, well, basic planes as cloths is very important, which is going to be the same as the next one. But yeah, so just start practicing drawing really wavy cloth sort of things, and you'll get a good feel for like drawing them. Oh, we said, well, L shapes, so yeah, L shapes as well. Something like that, you know, really works, this sort of idea. Yeah. And then, well, while we're at it, we'll just talk about the hanging pieces. They're really the same idea, but it's definitely just a box. So, you know, of course, like depending on the pose, you can just draw it like coming here, you know, the pelvis is over here, you know, do something like that. You know, maybe his legs here, and he's like power stancing. Yeah, so they're the main ideas of it. And then also the gauntlets and the shin guards, there's really not much to them because they really just follow the form, so to say. You can just simplify them as cylinders. If you just look at all the reference, it's kind of like, oh yeah, they're gloves. So, you know, simplify it down to a cylinder, and then you can start putting on detail. You know, also don't forget that there's quite a bit of ornamentation on samurai armor, just because of the history of Japanese culture. So you can see cherry blossoms and there's these weird rings at the nipples, which I don't know what they are. And also there's lots of these ropes. Um, and also there's like these rivets. So you use a lot of circular sort of things to join things together. So a rivet, if you don't know what it is, well, at least in the modern day version, is really just a point like this, and then they heat up this, or depending on how you want to construct it, they'll kind of like put something like two different plates of material here, and then to join them together, they'll like bang this side until it becomes flat, and so boom, it makes a permanent joint between these sorts of things. So that's why a lot of these joins are circular. No, not that one. This one's a bit too hard to see, but this one looks, yeah, like over here, it's all circular, and yeah. So, whoops, just have to go to OBS again. So yeah, the shin guards. So, oh sorry. So if we put in like a little bit of detail on this arm, hand thing, gauntlet, oh, that's not a circle, sort of. I was trying to do it in perspective, like kind of like you want to do it like that. So it breaks up the form a little bit, or the silhouette, so it becomes a bit more interesting. You can cut into the silhouette. Um, yeah. So I think that's about it. Okay, so it looks like I've made a big blunder in my recording, and upon reviewing the tapes, or well, digital files, I have completely forgotten about the face. Probably because I put it last, because it's the most involved part of the design, and it's, well, a natural vector in terms of what people look at first. So let's go on to drawing the helmet, the face guard, and, well, the throat guard, which is, it's really just just a plain box like everything else, maybe with a little bit of curve to it, not much to it. So let's focus mostly on the helmet and the face guard, which, if you're watching this, you probably know of Loomis, the Loomis head, which we're going to use that as a basic starting point. So if we sort of draw in, if we draw in like a Loomis head sort of idea, it already gives us a lot of information as to how to place in at least, let's start with the face guard. So the face guard, so if we just cut it off at around the eyebrow level and erase the rest of the Loomis head, you can kind of start getting an indication of, a of a face guard, basically. All you really need to do is build out the nose, put in maybe some teeth, that sort of thing. You've got yourself a pretty mean looking mask. Okay, like doing it properly, it's like, or from a different angle, let's say we're looking down on it, we can do this sort of thing, erase the circle, And boom, we've got a mask. So you can just pull out the nose again, put in like some sort of shape for the eye sockets, maybe refine that shape a little better. And yeah, so you can use Loomis as a starting point to get the main idea of the mask down, or you can also think about it as like a curved plane, right? And then you just cut into it like that. That's another way of thinking about it. And then you just want to build out that nose again, and you know, it's starting to look like a mask, the starts of it. And you can use the Loomis idea also for the helmet as a good starting point. So the main thing about, so if we start with the Loomis head, and so when we want to build this helmet on top, right, we just we give it some thickness, and we also need to know that the helmet sits on top of the skull. It doesn't line flush with the skull top. So there's actually a bit of distance between the top plane and the skull, right? So hopefully that makes sense. And then you can either, well, there's a visor, so you can just put in this sort of shape. And then there's another cone sort of shape, half cone sort of shape. So you can draw the bottom part of it going down like that and just connect the joins together. And then you can also put horns on, or the buffalo horns sort of idea. And then now it's like sort of looking like a samurai helmet. So putting it together, for at least for the head, let's choose yeah, so you can start off with a Loomis head, or a Loomis idea of a head, right? And then, or you can even just start with a mask, since a lot of the time of what I do it as, it is really just that. And then you can put in some eye socket shapes, you know, you can, sometimes I notice with a lot of these masks is that they have these sharp, weird teeth sort of things. Now this one's going to be a bit more of a front-on one, so we also need to know that and we're looking like this way at it. So we're looking up on it, so we should see a little bit of a curve there because of the digastric plane. And then we've got this visor. We're looking up on it as well, since we're looking below from the mask. And then we can add in this, well, if we have the head here, we know that the helmet will sit something like this. And then we can draw that did not work sort of well. Probably this needs to be a bit more shallow. So yeah, that's a quick idea of a samurai helmet from that angle. Yeah, just needed to include this because yeah, I've just completely forgotten that completely forgotten it out of my video, so just a quick edit into it. So this is a little example that I made here of like how you can use these sorts of ideas into a finished drawing. So you can see like here the plates, the hanging plates are like going off in whichever way, and you know we've got the very straight shoulder blades, I mean not shoulder blades, shoulder pads, and this sort of U saddle shape, although it's really hidden by the arms, those saddles. But yeah, there's really not much to it. If you want, I mean I've tried to make this real time because I want to improve some of my skills in actually talking as well and demonstrating. So I feel like this was a bit rushed, but hopefully I can show you how these principles or shapes are used in an actual finished drawing. Well, not finished, but like we'll do some quick sketch and then I'll probably try to line it out like this drawing afterwards. So that'll be coming in the next video. So hopefully you enjoyed it and learned something new about samurai armor. So thanks for sticking around. And yeah, next video will be on the demo.